G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with the brand new FIA Manufacturers Cup, the official season for 2021. Here we go at round 1, and as I'm sure you've now discovered, I've gone with Toyota, because of course I have, why not? I've also gone with R4M liveries that were made by someone in an R4M chat that I'm a part of on PlayStation Network. They made these two liveries for me upon request, and I've decided to run them for the season. But let's have a look at the round 1 combination. It's Group 3, so the Toyota Supra, of course, and we're at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia Grand Prix layout. So this is my first race. I did 2 races. My second race qualifying time is faster, so I'm going to save the lap guide for that. But we're just going to fast forward this lap time, just to have a look, see how the lap went. General tour of Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Obviously, not a track that it comes up too often, not one of my favourites. We come across the line there with a 1:43.4. Puts us third on this first grid here. So, this race here, this combination here, strategy is a big role, and it's weird, it's a bit strange. So all 3 tyres are available, hard, medium and soft, all racing tyres except the super softs, we never use those. So hard, medium, soft racing tyres available. The hard tyres are mandatory. The tyre wear multiplier 10 times, absolutely astronomical level of tyre wear. It is just absolutely mind-boggling how how high the tyre wear is in this race. So, you know, you might think 3 tyres available, 10 times tyre wear. They really want you to stop multiple times, but there is quite a large but. As I have very openly complained about, the new pit loss times, they're just massive. There is just not enough time in the given race to make back the time that you lose from going into the pits for a pit stop. So now all of the races turn into minimising the number of pit stops possible. So you used to lose, you know, to be generally less than 10 seconds in a pit stop, so you could stop 2-3 times in a race because you could quite easily make 10 seconds back by being on a fresh set of tyres. But now, where you might only gain 12 seconds on being on a fresh set of tyres, there's no way that you gain back 12 seconds. There's not enough. You don't gain back enough time as the pit stops are long. The pit stop loss is like 30 seconds now. It's ridiculous. So what happens here is you've got a choice. You can one stop or no stop. As someone actually goes for a bit of a dive move at turn 13 there as we begun this race. I was quite frustrated with that move there. Just wait for the straight, mate. But he's done it there. Not ideal, but we'll just continue with strategy talk. So you've got a one stop or a no stop. So no stop on hard tyres, but you have to fuel save massively. So, you know, generally most cars really struggle with fuel saving, so they're going to struggle to do a one stop. So the alternative is a one stop, which is soft to hard, because if you're going to do a pit stop, you might as well use your fastest tyre, the softs, and you got to go on to hard. You got to use the hard because they're the only mandatory. So the medium tyres you don't use. They're available to use, but you don't use them. So it's a bit, I don't know, a bit weird. I don't know why they would give us tyres that we never touch. It's a bit strange how they're running it, but that is how they've run it. So what we've done is, because we started near the front of the field in third, we started on the soft tyres, the fast tyres, so we don't fall back into the pack, the rest of the pack for the first stint, and then we're going to go in for the pits, refuel a bit, and move on to the hard tyres. Now, because, of course, the tyre wear multipliers are so high, the soft tyres don't last very long at all. You probably get, basically you probably get one good lap and then the tyres already begin to drop off. So the whole first stint, if you're on your soft tyres, you've got to tyre save massively. Now, tyre saving is not something I've done too often, but I thought I did an alright job on this combination here. So it's basically just brake early, 50% brake, no trail braking, and just really light turn-in. Don't scrub the tyres when you're turning as well too much. It's just really, you got to be really gentle on all the power, the brake and the steering. But as you come through the chicane to finish off lap 2, the VW loses it. So that is not good. We managed to get that position back. So, of course, if he just hung behind me, he'd probably been it anyway. But we come in, we skip ahead to all the way to the end of lap 7 where the 2 leaders go into the pit. So they're also on soft tyres. I just checked my fuel, I'm on 49% as well. As Hazard, they're currently in P3, is on 49 as well. So we've done an alright job at fuel saving compared to the leaders, or we've done exactly the same level of fuel saving. So I've decided to stay out an extra lap, so I've stretched out my soft tyres thanks to tyre saving to 8 laps, get 8 laps out of this set of tyres here. And if you have a look at the tyre wear, bottom left, or back left, sorry, on the bottom left of your screen, over 50% tyre wear. So this lap is, I'm sliding all over the place basically, and because I've stayed out an extra lap, I've thought, well, I'm going to come in at the end of this one and might as well use the tyres to their maximum capacity because I don't have to save for any further laps. So obviously any extra tyre wear incurred on this lap will only affect me for the rest of this lap only. So if you have a look at the gap to myself in second, it's currently at about 8.9 seconds. It was 9 seconds before, so we're just going to keep an eye on that as this lap goes on. Now, there is pretty much the split between one stoppers and no stoppers is fairly even. Like, you run different kinds of races, but you can achieve the same results by doing both strategies, which is good, I guess, because on your no stop, you have to spend 17 laps on the hard tyres, and you got a fuel save, so it slows them up enough to not get too much of a gain against the people that lose the 30 seconds in the pit stop. So it's fairly even, but we're going to come through the final chicane. You can see as the tyres have gone down to this level of tyre wear, the tyre wear from this point on is just exponential because you lose grip, therefore you slide more, which means you lose more tyres. So this is the pits. Have a look at the pit time. 8, 9, it's up in the middle of your screen, top middle. 12 seconds, we're still not in the box. So I've decided to leave this at 1 time so you can see the amount of time we lose. We come into the pit box, still not there yet. There we go, finally, 24 seconds later and we arrive in the pit box. Change the tyres and we're going to refuel up to the diamond. Except that we're not. I'm going to completely bin the strategy. I'm going to ruin the pit stop. I pressed the X by accident. I knocked the X button and, that was to press the stop refueling. I was originally supposed to press it when the fuel level got up to the diamond to stop the refueling and release the car. But I just had like a muscle twitch or something and it knocked the stop refueling at about 25% short of what I needed. This is the leader, Hazard, running past me now. We've got 2 laps to go and with 1 lap of fuel remaining. So essentially I thought, alright, well, I'm not going to pit again, so let's just try and fuel save maximum fuel saving to get to the end. So fuel maps, short shift as much as possible. I was basically bogging every gear just because the revs were so low. And by the end of the final lap, we're coming into the final sector behind this Mazda Atenza. You can see we've got 0.0 laps remaining, 0% fuel. We're just trying to coast home in fuel map 6, basically no revs at all. And then coming through the final corner, yep, we run out of fuel and we just get a bump from ledge behind. And it just unsettled the car on the curb. And I ended up in the gravel. That was not by any means his fault whatsoever. I ran out of fuel on the racing line and he had nowhere to go, so he ran into the back of me because I lost power, and yeah, just unsettled the car just enough. He actually messaged me after this race apologising profusely, and I'm like, please, just don't stress. I'm the one that ruined my own race. I had a very poorly managed race, bottled my pit stop, it's no one else's fault. I probably should have moved off the racing line as I was expecting to run out of fuel at that point, which is exactly what happened. And we coast to the line, we get overtaken for last, come home in 18th with 77 points. What a disaster, and I was just absolutely fuming with myself. So that race was over, and there was about a half an hour gap until the next session. I just chilled out, I didn't do any practice, I was just like, right, just relax, just chill out. let's go again. You got another chance, and that's what I decided to do. So we come in to the next split, and obviously my aspirations for this race is to actually run the correct strategy, or a correct strategy. Clearly, underfueling massively is not the correct strategy at all, and I'm just having a think about it now. The two leaders would have been absolutely boggled as to why or how I came out so far ahead of them after the pit stops. But of course they would have caught back up to me, and did, because I was fuel saving massively, to try and make it to the end, to no avail. Come home last. But let's forget it. Let's focus on the next session, which of course begins with the qualifying time. I was ranked 20 in this lobby, so I expected to qualify somewhere in the back half of the grid. Generally, your car number or DR number is fairly accurate, but let's have a look at a lap guide of Catalonia. Looking on the left-hand side, just in between the flag electronic board and the 100 meter board, braking into third gear, and just try and get your inside wheels on the inside of the little sausage curbs on the apexes of ELF, lifting off for turn 3, and then when you're facing or pointing towards an orange barrier, accelerate. Coming in towards turn 4, it's just before the bridge over the top of the track. Second gear for rotation, gentle, we just run a little bit wide here. You want to keep it tight to keep it over to the right, and then looking on the left hand side, just as the two poles exit the left hand side of your screen, you hit the brakes for turn 5 into second gear, heading down the hill, try and get a nice line of least resistance, and then for turn 7, braking just on the start of the curb on the right, left hand side wheels on that inside curb, and then use all that curb on the exit. Coming up towards turn 9 on the end of the curb on the left, lift off, turn in. You can downshift to third for extra rotation, but I kept it in fourth that time. We get a nice line through there. Coming down the back straight towards the Caixa, turn 10, just before the flag, another electronic flag marker board before the 100 meter board. Second gear, you can choose first or second in fact, and then this corner's flat out. Turn 12, sorry, is just a dab of the brakes. Third gear, keep it tight, try and accelerate towards the exit. Then for Europe car here, braking just on the start of the tyre mark that's on the curb. Third gear, and then braking just before the gantry that you run under. Smash that curb, and then try and get onto the power on the exit. And then turn 16 is all flat out, especially on soft tyres. Meet that curb on the exit, and then just straight up towards the line there. Slightly faster, 143.4 for that qualifying time there. Now Furby very kindly reminds me of the fuel, and I'm like, yeah, thank you so much. I don't know what I'd do without that, because obviously I need it because I missed it last time. I actually qualified third, top half of the grid, so I'm going to start on soft tyres, but finally let's enjoy the first manufacturer's introduction of the season. How good as always, and it actually counts for something this year. So the ultimate end game, the goal for the top players is, I'm going to put in quotes here, I'm doing air quotes, live events. They're actually online this year because of, I don't know, there's a bit of a pandemic, something going on that I've heard about, the news raves about it, so it's probably real. So that's going on, so instead of live events they're online, but it's still the same competition. So yeah, that's what this official season is, so let's try and do the best we can. Coming up towards turn 1, I've got Rice Shower ahead of me, and I can tell already he's going very, very slow, and I'm on soft tyres, so the fact that a car is extremely slow ahead of me probably tells me they're on hard tyres, and the only reason you'd be starting on hard tyres if you qualify second is if you're going to try a nose stop. So let's see how that works out for Rice Shower there. So obviously a nose stop is, you've got to be very conservative. So at this stage in the race, the opening stage, qualifying at the front, doing a nose stop, you're going to be one of the slowest cars in the field because you're going to have a handful of cars on soft tyres. So if they're around you at the top of the field, you're going to lose time to them, and that's what's happening to Rice Shower. So his best port of call at this point is damage limitation, basically. So don't get yourself into a battle and just minimise your time loss. If someone goes for a move, just let it happen. Just back off and let them take the racing line in front of you. You know, you end up losing less time from that than fighting for the position. So Rice Shower has fallen down into 4th already, so yeah, he's probably going to be doing a no-stop considering he has 0 pace, but let's just keep an eye on my race so far. So I learned from the first race that I can tyre save a lot, so I'm going to try that again, and we're going to talk about specifically some techniques for tyre saving that I'm doing at the moment. I'm also short shifting even more than the first race, because I know this car can save a lot of fuel. You short shift the Supra anyway, so you don't lose too much power from a small short shift, but a big short shift, and you can lose some power, but because the revs are so low anyway compared to another car, you don't lose quite as much speed. So the Supra are quite good for fuel saving, to be honest. So we're going to be shifting before the revs even touch the rev bar at the bottom. So basically I was just shifting off the sound of the revs, you know, raising. I tend to race a lot off sound. So yeah, I was just reacting to the sound of the car. When it reached a certain tone, I would shift the gear, and you know, it kept the fuel to a minimum, or fuel use to a minimum. Right, so tyre saving, like I said before, not something I've done a lot, but we're going to be 50% braking. So coming down here, normally you can brake just after the 2 poles go on off the left-hand side of your screen for that corner there, that hairpin of turn 5. I was braking just sort of in the middle of the 2 poles. 50% braking, look at that. Oh, that was about 75, but basically you're limiting the braking. If you brake hard, you can hear the tyres protesting, and that causes the tyre wear. Essentially, tyre squeal means more tyre wear. The louder and more high pitched that tyre squeal is, the faster you're wearing out your tyres. So dab of 100% brake just in the braking zone to get the car slowed down while the downforce is still on there, but as the car loses the downforce, roll back the brake to more of a 50% just to finish off the braking phase. And that's essentially what we're doing for all the corners. So if you have a look there, that was 50% coming into the chicane. I think we keep it in 3rd. Yeah, we do. 3rd gear to keep the revs nice and low. Just limit the wheel spin off the corner. And you can see we get some good grip through the final corner there and out onto the straight. So yeah, that's basically all we did. Just short shift and 50% braking. And it kept the car, I was able to keep the car rather under very steady control. And we just got the Citroen behind. He's struggling to sort of make inroads to me. He wasn't really following my slipstream when I tried to brake it down the straight, so I think he wants to just hang behind at this point, which he indeed does. We skip ahead, 2 laps 7, the Citroen is still behind, about a second behind, so he's obviously saving fuel in my slipstream, and he actually goes into the pits behind me. So it just releases me into the lead. So once again, let's have a look at this lap, just trying to maximise the tyres, and I've actually got a better level of tyre wear on this lap here compared to the equivalent lap in the previous race. So I was able to tyre save a little bit better then, although you might have just caught that massive kick of oversteer I had off turn 10 on this fast-forwarded lap here. But coming through the chicane, we've only lost maybe a tenth or a few tenths to the Chupagetti behind through the course of that lap there, so that tells me that I'm fairly on the pace. But let's go back into the pits. Let's try this again. Into the pits, hard tyres, and refuel, of course, and we're going to see where we come out, but that is, of course, not before I actually refuel all the way to the diamond this time.
He done it! The greatest
Yes, very good. We've actually correctly done the pit stop and not absolutely ruined it at this point. But we come out in traffic. Not the best thing at all. In fact, we come out just ahead of Furby, so he was very kind, holding people up behind me so they didn't slipstream past, so cheers for that, Furbs. Hopefully his race is going alright as well. Give him a flash of the hazards to say hi. Yep, g'day Furby. Thanks very much for holding that car up momentarily through the first sector. But for now, let's focus on the traffic ahead. So of course, I've come out behind. So all these cars were further back in the field, so they're either on the hard tyre yet to pit for softs, or they're on the hard tyre doing a no-stop. In either situation, they're very slow. and I've just come out of the pits. I've got loads of fuel now. I intentionally overfueled just so I could have some fuel to fight cars if needed, and just to increase the pace basically, so I didn't have to fuel save as much. And I'm happy to do that. At the end of the day, well, you see at the end of the race your gap to the car ahead, and you know, if it's a massive gap, it really wouldn't make a difference whether you put in an extra 5% fuel. So coming into the final sector, we've caught up to the back of Kiwi, driving the Jag. You can have a look at the apex speed difference there. Kiwi just coming closer and closer to the front bumper of the Supra here, and just goes to show I've got so much more grip than him at the moment. He's either doing a one-stop or a no-stop, but as we come through the chicane, I'm getting held up at this point here, and I was like, at this point here I started flashing the lights, and I've raced Kiwi before, and you know, I know Kiwi, he's pretty good, and he obviously sees the flash of the lights and lets me through. Give him a flash that has us to say thank you, and we get back behind the next Jaguar. So one position down, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so positions to go. So let's have a look. Up behind the Jaguar, he has to dab the brake through turn 2. He's obviously got a very low level of grip at the moment. Dab the brake through turn 3, just understeers him wide, so I managed to get past there. I wasn't sure if he was intentionally letting me go, so I just flashed the hazards anyway to say thank you, and we make that position up there. And now we've got a Peugeot ahead, driven by UU Hyder. He's about 9/10 up the road, but we're going to see how long it takes to actually close in that gap, and in fact we've closed in 1/10 already in the matter of one corner. Coming through turn 5, that's another 10th gained, so basically a 10th per corner at this point here. He does have the slipstream off the Toyota FT1, driven by Dr. Kubrick there, up in 12th, so he's going to have a pace advantage on the straights compared to if he wasn't in slipstream, obviously, so that's just going to be helping him keep this position from me. But we're about to head into the tight final sector at Catalonia, so it's going to be, well, the slipstream is not going to be very important here. In fact, it's just going to translate to dirty air through the corners. So let's have a look. We've caught right up to the back of the Peugeot at this point, so you know, it's frustrating to catch up to the back of someone through this final sector here, but there's not really a way past. I suppose you could technically send it at the apex of this corner here, but we saw what happened when someone did that move on me in the first race, and I wasn't very happy about it, so I just give him a bump through the chicane. I didn't mean to do that, and then he just kind of returns the favour a little bit on the exit. There, he gets himself out of a second penalty. That was obviously for cutting the second part of that chicane, so I would say we're even at this point. So I bumped into him, he bumped into me, and then he cut the corner on his own accord, but we'll just continue on. Getting the slipstream down the front straight, he decides to defend. I'm like, why are you defending? We've got 8 laps to go. We got 8 laps to go, and I've caught up a second in 1 lap to you. There's going to be no way you're going to be able to defend from me for 8 laps. You're just losing both times. So instead of now being up with 7th and 8th, he wants to fight for 9th. He defends so hard there. I switch back to the outside, and it just throws him off. He runs deep, and I get the cut back through this corner here. So I would say that is schooled, mate. And I questioned him in the lobby afterwards. I was like, why would you defend? You've got 8 laps to go. I've caught up an astronomical amount of time to you. How are you planning to keep the position for 8 laps? And you've got a penalty. And he's like, oh, well, I had an opportunity to defend, so why not? And I'm like, oh, man, it just loses both times. So now you've fallen off the back of 7th and 8th, and you're going to struggle to get back up to 7th. So you've just relinquished the fact that you, instead of fighting for 7th, you wanted to fight for 9th, and now you're off the back of the 2 up ahead for 7th. So you can see quite quickly how you can lose time so easily for unnecessary fighting. But that's over. I'm past. I knew I was going to get past with fresh tyres, just having come out of the pits. And the Ferrari went deep at turn 10, so I get that move up there. So I'm now up into 8th. Very good return. So it just goes to show a pit stop. Look how much faster I am, and I don't have to fuel save that much either, which is very nice. So we're just behind Dr. Kubrick now, so for 7th. A few more people going to the pits now, actually. So on this tour of the main straight, we'll see how many positions I gain, at least 2, so up into 5th at this point. Dr. Kubrick in 4th, and we've got the slipstream of Dr. Kubrick here. So you can see sensibly, he does not defend. He goes, righty-go, you're faster at this point, just get in front and I'll use your slipstream. Thanks, mate. Which is the correct mentality to have. So obviously, UU Hyder probably needs to think about the grand scheme, the long term, more than just trying to keep each position. So lovely. A few laps later, we caught up to 3rd. caught up to the podium position of 3rd. So maybe a no-stopper. I would suggest a no-stopper given the fact that I've caught up to him so quickly. And if we have a look, coming through turn 12, that one is, Bank de Sabadell, turn 12, into the final sector. And it's looking very good to have the slipstream down the main straight. Mercedes AMG, it's actually a fairly solid car. It doesn't really have that many disadvantages. It's just, it doesn't have a standout advantage, but it doesn't have a standout disadvantage. It's just a pretty good all-round solid car. So it's alright in a straight line, I suppose, but it's no match for my Supra here at this point. I'm just checking my fuel. I've got 4 or about 3.9 laps of the race remaining with 4.4 laps of fuel. So I've got loads of fuel, so I can rev out the car basically, and that is exactly what I do all the way to the end of the race here, where I just skip ahead. I was not able to catch up to the 2 up ahead, who in fact, Rice Shower comes home for the win, so he pulled off a beautiful no-stop. Just goes to show that strategy is probably a little bit faster, but if you're not quite up to scratch with your tyre saving, go for the 1-stop. We bring home 3rd with car number 20. How good's that? So 248 points, very solid result for me. It's about the level of result that I've been pulling in recently, so I will take that any day of the week. But I finally got in a successful race after a very plebby first race. But we all have our moments, I guess, so, you know, we just learn from it. Don't press the X button prematurely. Not a good thing at all. But we bounced back, brought home a good result, and it set me up quite well for the duration of the season. A good, solid first result really boosts the confidence. But that's going to finish up this one today, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.